Today is Monday, December 8th, 2025. This is First Alert Weather Plus. Meteorologist Nicholas Snyder here, and quite the active day of weather indeed over the area with multiple winter storm warnings and weather alerts that are continuing to be in place. First Alert Weather Day is in place. And we're going to talk about everything you need to know. Today's not the only day, by the way, where we're going to be experiencing some active weather for sure. So let's get right into it here. Let's talk about our first alert weather day and give you everything you need to know here. So we're going to talk about what we've seen today. We're going to give you a recap of where the heaviest snow has fallen, what we can expect even for the end of this evening and into the overnight as well. And then that next round of active weather. We're not done just yet with this active weather. We'll also talk about the long-term forecast and what that could mean for you. I am sorry I just went to the end of the show. I don't want to give too much away here for you. So let's go back to the start of First Alert Weather Plus, give you that three big things, again, that you need to know. And then we'll talk about what's on our water vapor satellite. Here we go. Let's talk about that water vapor satellite. We have this very important feature showing up here. This is this maximum of energy sitting and spinning somewhere over south central Ohio to southwest Ohio. This is what's bringing in that next band of snow that you see, or that you will see here. And I talked about this on our 6 o'clock show on our radar picture. And it might be better if I just went full here on our graphics just to show you kind of what I was talking about. It's this general zone. Let's stop the satellite picture to really hone in on this. And I'll take off the circles I just drew. And again, we'll zoom on in to where I'm talking about. It's this maximum of energy that you're seeing in a little swirl here. It's very subtle, but you'll see it here from Portsmouth to Louisa back to Huntington. That is moving its way further to the east right in here. And this is creating a new band of snow that you see developing over portions of Kanawha County, portions of eastern Putnam County, Jackson County, up toward Roane County, Clay County, places like that. So it's been quite the active weather day. And I'll show you this band. There it is right there. You see it right in here on the last frame of the radar. Boom. Right there. That is what's causing some more activity, more couple of inches of snow here in that general area. Of course, we've seen quite a bit of some of that snow. We'll bring it back into me here into the picture. Heavy snow reports all around the area. So we're going to take a little tour here just to show you who saw what. The official National Weather Service observation out of the National Weather Service in Charleston was about 5 inches of snow, 5.6 inches of snow to be exact. This was that report right here. Right there, 5.6 inches of snow at 5:30 p.m. Snow has pretty much winded down over there in Charleston now, thanks to some drier air working in. But the updated storm total is 5.6. That's been about a half an inch an hour, by the way, over the last 5 hours, because we saw a good 2.4 inches of snow in the last 5 hours. So heavy snow for sure in Charleston. I wouldn't be surprised if we did have a few 6-inch reports over there in Charleston for this evening. The final storm total should be about 6 to 8 inches of snow. The heaviest snow totals I saw earlier today was over here in Alum Creek. And here's another report that we do have. We'll highlight this storm report here for you right here in Alum Creek, right along State Route 214. This was at 1:54 p.m. at 4 inches of snow. That was much earlier this evening. I would not at all be surprised if we saw 6 or 7 inches in this area from the storm total that we did see. So very heavy snow in parts of Kanawha County. Let's go down Route 60 here, go to some of these smaller river towns here along Route 60, and we'll pick out a few of these toward the East Bank area. Along the Midland Trail, 4 inches of snow at Kelly's Creek, West Virginia, and this was at 5 p.m. Again, this was almost 2 hours ago, so there's likely a lot more of that snow, maybe 5 or 6 inches of snow that's fallen over there into eastern portions of Kanawha County. Moving further to the east out toward Montgomery here, right along the Fayette County line here. Not seeing a whole lot, but let's go up I-79 toward Clendenin. They had quite a bit of heavy snow here as well. In between Pinch and Clendenin, right along I-79, you're talking 4 inches of snow. And again, that was at 3 p.m. So likely, again, 6, 7 inches of snow likely on the ground over there at the area between Pinch and Clendenin here in eastern Kanawha County. Southern Roane County, 4.5 inches at 4:30 p.m., border of Roane and Kanawha County to be exact right there. So a general 4 to 7 inches of snow in that area. Let's go back to the west here. Let's talk about, Huntington, where they saw a little bit less in terms of that snow. I measured 2.5 inches. I'll try to get you that report here. That was at about 3-ish p.m. There's my report right there. Storm total thus far at 2:50 p.m. 2.5 inches. We didn't get much more of that in Huntington. I think 2 to 3 inches generally in portions of Cabell County. I did see a few reports back to the west in Lawrence County, Ohio, where they saw up to 4 inches of snow. So we'll pick this out. Let's go to Flatwoods, Raceland area in Greenup County. 2 inches of snow at 5:11 p.m. That pretty much adds up right there. Speaking of areas in Ohio, let's go to Ohio. Ironton, Ohio. 2 inches of snow along Route 93 there in Ironton here as well. So quite a bit less snow further back to the west and especially further to the north, which was the opposite, if you remember, of last Tuesday's event where we saw quite a bit more of that snow. Moving down to eastern Kentucky, let's talk about this area. They saw about the same as portions of southern Ohio and northeastern Kentucky. Let's talk about Johnson County, Kentucky, north of Paintsville along US 23 here. 2 inches of snow around 3 p.m. That's when the snow originally stopped there in Johnson County. Further to the south, you're talking into Floyd County, just to the north of Prestonsburg, off of US 23 here. 3 inches of snow at Jenny Wiley State Park ridgetops. So a little bit more in those ridgetops for sure compared to in the valleys. And then into the coal fields of West Virginia. They got hit pretty hard in the coal fields of West Virginia. Multiple 6-inch reports. I know Harts in Lincoln County, 3.5 inches at 5:34 p.m. here. So not quite as bad, but as you go into eastern Lincoln County along the Logan County line here, this is where things just didn't really get too good. 6 inches of snow near Adams, West Virginia. That's off of State Route 3 here near the Boone County line and near the Logan County line. So heaviest snows again from Charleston down south toward Madison, where, again, really, really heavy snow had fallen, and it was not the most ideal day of travel for a lot of us, with multiple crashes reported along a lot of the roadways over the area. Now, temperatures now pretty temperate into the middle and upper 20s. Portsmouth a rogue 31 degrees, but generally 26 right now. Huntington 25, Charleston 23, and Logan 27 in Pikeville, 26 in Spencer, 26 in Athens. Because of the cloud coverage that we do have, we should trap in some heat that we did see from the sunshine today. We didn't see a whole lot of heat from the sun today, but we should trap in a little bit of that. So that should keep us generally above 20 degrees tonight. That means if you're along a well-treated road, and basically means the interstate, I-64 here, I-77 here, and I-79 right there. Also talking about Route 60 from basically Charleston west down to Moorhead. You're talking some state routes in Ohio, US 52 down from Portsmouth through Huntington all the way into the coalfields of West Virginia here as well. Those roads should be fine, except for overpasses. Could get a little icy tomorrow morning there. The back roads, though, especially in areas that saw 6 inches of snow out toward parts of Boone County, out toward parts of Lincoln County, Logan County, into Kanawha County. That's going to be very difficult travel tomorrow. We've seen school closings, delays, things like that. Could continue tomorrow in terms of bad road conditions. So keep a very, very close eye on those road conditions tomorrow. The good news is things are expected to fade away through the evening. Could be a little bit of lingering snow in some of the higher elevation terrain out toward Montgomery along the Fayette-Kanawha County line, southern and eastern Boone County up toward the Clay area. But outside of that, we're pretty much done with the snow tonight, and we should be done with the snow tomorrow. We're not going to see a whole lot of any activity. But as far as final snow totals are concerned, yeah, things are not looking all that great. Again, 6 to 8 inches for those of us in Charleston, for Logan, 5 to 6 for Beckley, 5 to 6 for Summersville, Fayetteville, same general idea. Up toward Sissonville, back toward Hurricane Winfield, Taze Valley, toward the Harts area, toward Hamlin, Williamson, down into McDowell County toward Welch. You're talking 3 to 6 inches. Snowshoe, 3 to 6 inches as well. General 1 to 3 in those areas that saw a little bit less back to the west, where we didn't see a whole lot of that snow. Couple more things headed our way this week. Another system is moving in for Wednesday. This one has a little bit more strength to it, but the good news is because it has more strength, here's that disturbance, by the way, coming in for Wednesday. As it works its way eastward, it's pumping in warmer air from the south, thanks to some areas of low pressure that'll develop right here in that region of diverging air, lower pressure below diverging air. We are going to be seeing more warm air working in starting tomorrow. Let's get rid of those markings and talk about what's headed our way for Friday as well. Another system coming in for Friday. Here's the disturbance associated with that. There will be a warm front that's out ahead of that right here. And again, some warmer air will be set to surge on in behind that warm front. And that'll impact what kind of weather we see with the next two systems. I think there will be a little bit more warm air due to the strength of Wednesday's system compared to Friday's system. And we'll kind of show you what we're talking about here. Our 32-degree line is this darker blue line, the line that separates the light blue from the dark blue. It's right here. Above this, of course, you're talking mostly snow. You're talking wintry precipitation. And let's go to this full so you can really get an idea of just exactly what you're seeing with this. Again, this is mostly snow above that dark blue line up in this general area. South of here, you're talking rain, and that's due to warmer conditions, temperatures above freezing. This is the lower levels of our atmosphere. It's not quite into the upper levels, but it's not at the surface either. It's about maybe 1,000 to 2,000 feet above the Earth's surface. And again, when you get temperatures like that above the Earth's surface, that is a good indicator of what type of precipitation you're going to see. So in our area, Wednesday, for the most part, looks pretty rainy. On the other hand, on Friday, a little bit different. Let's pause at 5 a.m. Notice we are in this cold zone. We're starting to see winds, by the way, begin to move in, pushing in some of that warm air. Now, what happens there is that warmer air lifts over top of the colder air below that. Now, bring myself back here to illustrate. Here's the cold air. Here's the warm air. Warm air is less dense, so it lifts over top of that cold air, creates some lift, creates clouds and precipitation over that. And so that's really what we're going to be seeing all day Friday. Notice that freezing line only gets to about Cincinnati, the Appalachian Highway corridor, and then takes a turn along US 35 once it reaches Jackson, all the way down to North Carolina. So we're seeing all snow in places like southern Ohio for Friday, with some rain mixing in during the afternoon and evening. Let's take that marker off, and you'll notice an eastward advance here of some of that colder air. Again, that freezing line is right here. And notice basically along the I-64 corridor point south, you're looking at some rainier conditions down here, whereas further to the north, up into southern Ohio, you're looking at some snowier conditions here. So Friday's going to be a really interesting system, to say the least, to talk about with what's headed our way. Wednesday looks to be mostly rain. There's that system that initially clears out for tonight. Let's pause at Wednesday. Here's that rain. I mentioned earlier, this is mostly rain. That's good news. We don't want to see any wintry types of precipitation. Now, as we fast forward into the evening, another burst of rain coming along a weak little front here. Again, lowlands remain rain. The upper elevations could see a few areas of snow trying to develop, mainly east of Corridor L here. So you're talking Summersville, Fayetteville points east, out toward Richwood, Webster Springs here, Elkins, Snowshoe, down toward Greenbrier County. That's where you could see that snow mixing in. Eventually, we'll just see some mountain flurries during the overnight time frame of Wednesday night and into Thursday morning. A few flurries further to the south on Thursday as well. Fast forwarding to Friday, I mentioned that system. This is that warm front I mentioned earlier. Again, the warmer air running over top of this warm front, the cold air below this. And so we're getting that rising motion, creating that snow that we're seeing here at the surface on Friday morning. Morning commute on Friday could be very difficult for a lot of us. And as we move forward, we could see a couple more inches of snow in southern Ohio. I mentioned we haven't seen a whole lot of snow in southern Ohio. This past Friday's system didn't bring any snow to southern Ohio. And today's system didn't bring any snow to southern Ohio. Well, this Friday's system looks to be the one that favors southern Ohio for that snow compared to West Virginia and Kentucky. So everyone's going to get their fair share of snow, at least over the next week or so. fine-tuning of this forecast is going to have to happen. This is just one model run, and it's still 4 days away. We're getting a better idea of what exactly is going to happen on Friday, but again, keep in mind it still is 4 days away, so we're going to have to watch it closely. And as that new data comes in, of course, we'll keep you updated. But I wanted to give you that first alert right now. Keep an eye on those temperatures, too. Wednesday into the 40s. Tomorrow, even, we should be in the 40s. Should feel a lot nicer compared to the 20s and 30s that we did see today. Now, Friday's a little tricky. Again, we'll have to see where exactly that freezing line shows up because up here in Athens, all snow. Huntington, Charleston, looks like some rain mixes in on Friday. Moving forward, this is another one of the models here. This is the National Weather Service model. Still back into the 40s here for Friday, or for Wednesday, I should say. And then for Friday, it really, again, depends on where you are in terms of that forecast here. Talking about snow, we're getting close to Christmas, 17 days away, in fact, for that. And I know a lot of us are going to be dreaming of a white Christmas. So Tony Cavalier, he is in to talk about everyone's chances, at least climatologically speaking, meaning how many Christmases we have seen as a white Christmas. He's going to talk about that and what we can expect. My apologies here. It's
So the great winters of the 20th and 21st century often announce themselves with an expanse of snow cover during the months of November and December. At the peak last week before melting, about 40% of the United States was covered in snow. And now we've whittled away, of course, at the snowpack we had. But the bottom line is this December being snowy across the United States kind of hints at a great winter to come. Nicholas dubbed it a December to remember, and certainly we've already had a couple of snowfalls. How about the climatology of white Christmas in the 21st century? Well, I want to take you back to the 2000s. Between 2000 and 2009, we had 2 out of 10 years that had a white Christmas. That's about average for our area. 2003 and 2009, we talked about this last week, was the storm that closed the turnpike a week before Christmas. The 2010s I've dubbed a lost decade. 1 in 10 of those years, only 2012, had a white Christmas. The 2020s, we've had a pretty good record since 2020 till now. Two of the first 5 Christmases in this decade have featured a white Christmas, including that wonderful 2020 Christmas Eve whiteout. That was when we were followed as we headed into February with those back-to-back ice storms. And it's odd, if you think back to the last time we had a polar vortex, that was 2022, 3 years ago. And do you know we only had an inch or 2 of snow, but bitter cold, sub-freezing, sub-zero temperatures, I should say, accompanied that polar vortex. So just because we get a polar vortex at the end of the week doesn't necessarily mean we get a lot of snow. But it does mean we have the opportunity to maintain snow on the ground. As far as getting a white Christmas this year, over the years, I've noticed if it snows a day or 2 before Christmas, then oftentimes you have a white Christmas. But if it snows in advance by a week, only the turnpike storm of 2009, the renown there, a week before Christmas it snowed, and we maintained a white Christmas all the way till December 25th. The bottom line is, if it's going to be a white Christmas, it'll likely be a last day or next to last day affair. And of course, we'll keep you posted with Nicholas here at First Alert Plus. Thank you for watching.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. It remains to be seen if we're going to see a white Christmas. Patterns are getting a little more dicey in terms of our chances for that white Christmas. But certainly 2 out of 5 white Christmases in the 2020s. We're on a good roll for the year, for the decade, I should say, of 2020. So we're going to have to see over the next couple of days. Let's talk about that long-term pattern here. We'll get you a better idea of what's going on. And for this, we're going to go to our weather computer. So bear with me while I bring that up. And, of course, we like to talk about the Madden-Julian Oscillation. We've talked about this quite a bit here on First Alert Weather Plus, especially recently. I want to talk about, again, these phases here. We were in Phase 7 for much of the beginning of December. We moved to Phase 8. That Phase 8 is a very cold phase. That's why we've seen such cold weather for much of December so far, at least one of the reasons why we've seen it, and why we've seen such active weather and so much snow so far this December as well. We're continuing to see our forecast keep us in that Phase 8 territory, or some of us going into Phase 1. Now, if we go into Phase 1, that's still a cold pattern. Phase 8, of course, is the cold pattern. Phase 7 is where you typically start to see things kind of shift back to normal, or at least warmer. But none of the models want to take us into Phase 2. At least none of the model runs want to keep us into Phase 2. Wants to keep us in that Phase 8 or maybe briefly into Phase 1. What that means is, at least as far as the MJO is concerned, it looks to be still fairly, at least, cold over the area. Another thing we like to watch for, the North Atlantic Oscillation. Still negative right now. We'll zoom a little bit further into this. Now, notice some of the forecast models take us back to a neutral or positive phase once we head toward the middle of the month. This would help us get a little bit warmer, at least get away from some of the polar vortex talk that we've been talking about, or been feeling about, at least over the last couple of weeks here or so. Not necessarily right in the smack dab middle of the polar vortex, but it's been a case where we've seen below normal conditions as far as those temperatures are concerned. The Arctic Oscillation, the ensemble model for the mean at least, is taking us back positive as well. So when you get a positive Arctic Oscillation and a positive North Atlantic Oscillation, that typically means you're going to start to see a little bit of a warm-up that might want to try to come in and disrupt kind of the winter weather pattern. If you're a snow lover, that's not what you want to hear, but certainly that MJO, that Madden-Julian Oscillation, staying in that Phase 8 to Phase 1, at least over the next couple of weeks, should help keep us on the cooler side of things. Here's the long-term model. Going into next week, here is where we start to see that pattern kind of shift, at least a little bit here. Now, I do want to preface this. We were fooled by this before. This was back around, let's say the Thanksgiving time frame, where a lot of the models wanted to take the Arctic Oscillation and the North Atlantic Oscillation positive quite a bit as we headed into the beginning of December. We've been fooled by this before. That's why I'm saying that, because as we see, in fact, let's take you back to our Arctic Oscillation and North Atlantic Oscillation. The Arctic Oscillation is very, very negative right now, well into the beginning of December. North Atlantic Oscillation has been negative since the 1st. Same thing for the Arctic Oscillation right here. My point being is that we've been fooled by this before. So we did see, at least on the long-term modeling back around Thanksgiving, a warm-up heading into the beginning part of December. And obviously, that's not what happened. So take this with a grain of salt. With that Phase 8 MJO, I am pretty sure we could see a shift back to negative and see some cooler conditions working in. But at least for now, we're talking about a positive Arctic Oscillation and a positive North Atlantic Oscillation as we head toward the middle of the month. What that means is the polar vortex remains up in Canada. The North Atlantic stays cold. Alaska starts to get a little cold, and we start to see a nudge of warmer air going into the middle of the month. And obviously, for those snow lovers, especially for Christmas, we don't want to be a Grinch and spoil white Christmas chances. Now, once that Eastern Pacific Oscillation or the air in Alaska gets warmer, we might start to see the development of some cooler air heading into, let's say, the end of the month of December here. But we'll ultimately have to see. Again, we've been fooled by this before. With that MJO being such a strong forecast, a strong signal of that to stay in Phase 8, it is fairly likely, I do think, that we could see some colder air sticking around into Christmas time, and that would ultimately bolster our white Christmas chances here for the region. So we're keeping a close eye on it. I also want to talk about what's headed our way for the weekend. Very, very cold center of air right here, filtering down into our neck of the woods right here. Thursday into Friday, into Saturday night, into Sunday. This would mean the coldest air of the season, very likely, especially with what's coming with our Friday system. After that Friday system, we could see overnight lows getting into the teens. This would be our first real shot at polar vortex air if this does verify. Lows getting into the lower middle teens, and daytime highs not getting out of the 20s. And I know it's early to say polar vortex. We get it every year. Don't let the cessationalist people kind of fool you. We get polar vortices every year coming down from the Arctic. This is nothing new over the area, but we don't typically see it in December. I don't think it's going to be such a cold shot of air that we're going to see below zero temperatures. That's not going to be the case, but it's certainly a possibility where, again, upper single digits and lower teens lows could be a possibility in parts of next week. So we'll have to watch for a refreezing and freezing cycle. We'll have to watch for some frostbite if you're not protecting those hands. Maybe some wind chill advisories may be needed. We'll keep a close eye on that as we move forward. But heads up and a first alert heading into the weekend. That's what we're watching. Next 6 to 10 days, that's days 6 to 10. That would be Sunday through next Thursday. We still are near or below average, at least on our outlook right here. Precipitation chances near average. So we're moderating this pattern out just a little bit, which I know a lot of us are going to want to hear. No above average precipitation and certainly very strong signals of seeing above average or below average temperatures, which would indicate snow chances would come down. But again, at least over the next week here, on a Wednesday, if you're in the mountains, more snow chances. Lowlands, just see rain. That's that chance right there. Thursday, just a chance of a flurry south, also in the mountains there. Friday's a day we really got to watch, especially in southern Ohio. I think we could see accumulating snow here. If we see snow all day in southern Ohio, that's going to be a day where we could see 3 or more inches of snow there. That is definitely shovelable stuff there. Saturday even, we could see a little bit of snow. That morning commute, very dicey for some of us on Friday. So we've issued first alert weather days for Friday and Saturday. Again, it's not just today. We have more weather on the way. Sunday into Monday, look at these overnight lows. 15 Saturday night, 13 on Sunday night. Highs not getting out of the 20s. So that's that polar vortex event that we really have to watch, and that's why we're giving you that first alert right now. Speaking of first alert, this is First Alert Weather Plus. We give you details in depth on everything you need to know weather-wise, and we give you that first alert to things down the line that could be on your radar and need to be on your radar. We air every Monday, 6:45 p.m. live here in the WSAZ Now studio. Anywhere you can stream WSAZ, you can find us. You can also check out our YouTube channel, WSAZ First Alert Weather Plus, on that YouTube channel. We'll upload this episode tomorrow, and every past episode, you can go view that. You can also view past episodes on WSAZ.com. And remember, if you're watching us on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe. Follow us all on Facebook as well. Dylan Goday Weather, meteorologist Nicholas Snyder, and Tony Cavalier. You can find us using those terms on Facebook, and we post a lot of great content on there. So be sure to support us that way. In the meantime, make it a great Monday, everybody.